Across Tennessee's 95 counties, from the Mississippi River to Mountain City, the University of Tennessee is changing lives and shaping the future. With 5 campuses and 2 statewide institutes, across Tennessee's 95 counties, innovation, from the Mississippi River and service. Our classrooms inspire the next generation of leaders. Our laboratories drive breakthroughs in clean energy, healthcare, and agriculture. And our commitment to excellence fuels economic growth. Through the UT Institute of Agriculture and the UT Institute for Public Service, we're solving real-world problems and strengthening communities, one partnership at a time. Our graduates are prepared to meet the demands of today's workforce. They're educators, engineers, healthcare providers, and innovators, powering Tennessee's future. From advancing K-12 education and tackling addiction to revitalizing rural communities, the University of Tennessee is committed to addressing our state's grand challenges. Everywhere you look, the University of Tennessee is making a difference. Together, we're building a brighter, stronger future for all Tennesseans.
Good afternoon. So I was disappointed a few moments to learn that I wasn't getting an introduction. Tiffany said, well, everybody knows you, but I'm worried that some of you wouldn't recognize me wearing a tie. It's a rare occasion. So I am Randy Boyd, President of the University of Tennessee. So great to see all of you today. So we are halfway through the greatest decade in the history of the University of Tennessee. We've had an incredible first 5 years, and these next 5 years will be even better. And I'm happy to report after 230 years, the state of the university is stronger than it's ever been in our entire history. There may be one or two of you out there that are incredulous and want me to back that up, and in a few moments I'm going to provide a little bit of information to help support why we think this is the greatest time in the history of the University of Tennessee. But first I want to answer the question, why is it the greatest time, the best time in the history of the University of Tennessee? And the answer is in this room. It's all of you. What makes us strong is all of our great colleagues, our staff, our faculty, our leaders. It's because we all work together. How many in the room are employees of the University of Tennessee? If you could raise your hand. How many of you partner with the University of Tennessee or are impacted by the University of Tennessee? Raise your hand. So it's everybody in the room. Thank all of you for making the university what it is today. It also starts with leadership. And my former boss, Bill Haslam, used to always say, leadership matters. And we have a tremendous group of leaders here with us today that are going to be joining me in a panel in a few moments. We have Chancellor Donde Plowman from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. Maybe each of you could stand. And we have Chancellor Linda Martin from UT Southern. Our interim Chancellor at UT Chattanooga, Robert Dooley. Our Chancellor at UT Martin, Yancey Freeman. And at the Institute of Agriculture, the Senior Vice Chancellor and Senior Vice President, the longest title in our system, Keith Carver. Chancellor at UT Health Science Center, Peter Buckley, is also with us. We're also going to be joined by our Vice President of the Institute of Public Service, Herb Byrd. Well, I'd like to say the best part of the program is going to be an interactive conversation with them about why research matters and talking about the impact of research. We've been working together all day yesterday, visiting with over 104 different members of the General Assembly. And we like to say we can finish each other's sentences. This team works so closely together, and I think you're going to see that when we get them all on the stage. But first, I want to back up that comment that I said at the start, that we're in the strongest position that we've ever been in the history of the University of Tennessee. Let me share just a little bit of information to help support that. First, Something that we don't talk about a lot is our finances. We talk about education and our research and our engagement activities, but we rarely talk about our finances. I think it's important to share this with you. So since 2020, our revenues have grown by 32% to an all-time high of $3.4 billion. Our net position, and by the way, for those that are in business, we call this our net worth. Our net position has grown by 41% to $4.9 billion. Our cash balances have grown from $619 million to $1.97 billion. This is all since just 2020. And lastly, our investments, which is part of it is our endowments and other investments, have grown from $558 million to $1.6 billion since 2020. That's an incredible result. And why is that important? If you look across the landscape of higher education, there are universities and colleges all across the country that are barely making it. In fact, over the next 5 years, many will be going out of business. We're fortunate to be in this position. It also gives us the resources to weather the storm. There's going to be difficulties in the future years. We're always going to have challenges. But knowing that we have this financial reserve to give us, to support us, is really important. So I want to make sure you knew that. And again, the university in 230 years has never been in this strong a position. Speaking of money, we're also fortunate that people believe in us and are continuing to invest in the University of Tennessee. We had a goal in 2020 of making this the greatest decade in fundraising. The best decade before was the previous decade, $2.2 billion. This decade, we wanted to raise $3 billion. We're halfway through the decade, and we're already close to 60% of our goal. So we're ahead of pace. And that's great, but this slide is more than about money. It's about people's belief in the work that we do. You can do surveys and ask people, did you feel good about your experience at UT? You could ask people across the state, do you believe in what the University of Tennessee is doing? Do you believe in the mission, the education, and the work that they do? But the best way is by their testament of giving their money, their treasury, hard-earned treasury to our university. 180,000 people this decade have made a donation to the University of Tennessee. They do that because they're thankful for the education they got, and they believe that the next generation should have the same opportunity. So I think, again, it's great to talk about the money, which we need and we put to work, but it's also a great testament to the great work that we do, that you do. So thank you for that. And of course, we're about students first, and enrollment is growing. Across our system, we've had record enrollment growth. At the University of Tennessee Martin, last year we had an 8% increase from 7,000 to 7,500 students. At UT Southern, we had a 7.6% increase and a 13% increase in retention. Most in this room, I think, realize how hard it is to move the needle in retention, but for those of you that don't, a 13% increase in retention. If this was a football game, it'd be like scoring 150 points at the halftime. You'd be scratching your head like, how do you do that? It seems impossible. A 13% increase in retention at UT Southern. At UT Chattanooga, they also had a record enrollment of almost 12,000 students this last year, the best in their history. And then finally, UT Knoxville, only a 6.6% increase, a third in percentages, but 6.6% on a big number is incredible. Over a couple thousand additional students. Record enrollment at our flagship campus at UT Knoxville. So we've got a lot. We're thinking about this being the best day in our best year in our history. Our enrollment is a critical measure, and we've done that. So why grow? Some people ask us that. Well, why do you grow? Is this something to move you up in the rankings, or is this something that's something for your ego? No, it's because we are the land-grant university of the state of Tennessee. We're here to serve the people of Tennessee, and they want us to grow for two reasons. One, students all across the state are dying to get into our campuses. Applications every year are continue to go up. I think Donnie shared with me yesterday, 62,000 applications this year for 6,900 spots. And all of our campuses are seeing large increases in applications. We want to be able to provide more opportunity for these students to give them the great education that we know we can give them. So we owe it to them for that. And second, we also have employers that are desperate for talent. Our hospitals need nurses. Our School districts need teachers. Our industries need engineers and accountants and all the things that we provide. And so for those two reasons, this is why we want to grow. And as you can see by this chart, four-year degrees are in demand. Something that you each can help us myth bust with is the myth that nobody needs to go to college anymore. There's no real jobs for a four-year degree. That's just simply not true, and this chart shows this. From 2011 to 2021, there were 90,000 fewer jobs that required just a high school degree. There were 41,000 more jobs that required a technical certificate. So technical certificates are important. 41,000 more jobs created just in the last decade. So we need more people to go to our Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology. But 361,000 more jobs required a four-year degree. So we are meeting the needs of our state's employers. What's our biggest challenge? How to get going from 62,000 to 71,000 students? It's infrastructure. We need to build more infrastructure. I always ask our friends in the legislature, the governor, where are they going to sit? So it's great to bring all these students in, but we've got aging plant. Our facilities are on average 67 years old. We got 1,020 buildings, on average 67 years old. So we've got buildings that we need to replace, and we need to build new buildings to help support this growth. I've got great news. Yesterday, we were in the Capitol saying thank you to the governor and all the legislators for the historic investment they're making in infrastructure in the University of Tennessee system. On Monday night, the governor proposed to provide over $250 million in funding for infrastructure across the system. You can clap for that. And clap for UT Knoxville got a new chemistry building that we've been desperately fighting for 3 years. UT Martin got $60 million for a new business building that we've also been needing to replace for years. And sometimes we get a little surprised. The governor also is giving us $45 million to help enhance our 4-H camps to provide more STEM education for our 4-H students. So we're very, very thankful. And lastly, we are growing our research. One of my faults is that too often I talk about research in dollars. This is a record, $484 million in research expenditures last year. That's something we can be really proud of, and all of you in this room, or many of you in this room, have a lot to do with this number, so thank you for that contribution. But the problem often is that when we talk about research, we don't talk about the impact. We're just talking about numbers. And the real impact, the real story is the stories behind this research. That's why I'm excited to have all of you here today. Every one of you that are on one of our grant award teams have stories to tell and are developing new stories. One of our objectives today is to ask the chancellors to share some of your stories and other stories about the real impact that research has. And I'm excited about being able to do that. And with that, with no further ado, I'm going to bring up our leaders to let them share with you some stories on research. When we get together, we call this the One UT Leadership Team. So this is our team, and again, we work well together. We like each other. We can finish each other's sentences, and probably we might see a little bit of that today. But I'm going to ask each of them first to give just an overview of what research or engagement looks like on their campuses, just the themes and the structure and big goals, and then we'll come back to the stories. So Donnie, we'll start with you.
Thank you so much, and Randy, that was a great job. Didn't y'all think that was a great job? Yeah. Okay, awesome.
The reviews are already done. I'm not sure why she's complimenting me.
Just evaluating you on the spot in front of 500 people. At UT Knoxville, we use this little expression that goes, making life and lives better in Tennessee. And that really drives all the research that we do. We've prioritized some areas. If you think about healthcare, AI, advanced manufacturing, we've got about 5 areas that we really focus on, and we're trying to hire faculty around those areas. So strategic hiring, that's made a big difference. But we try to focus on research that really does make a difference in communities. And one of my favorite examples is we are really excel at advanced materials, and our faculty built a bridge in Morgan County with all these sensors on it. It's a tremendous asset for that little community. And so that's the kind of thing, Randy, that our faculty I'm really proud of them, because they not only want to be world-renowned in their area, they also think about the communities and lives that they're changing. So that's just a little bit of I could talk for the whole period, but I have colleagues up here who need to talk to.
All right, thank you. First, let me say it's a real honor to be in the room with all these individuals having an impact across the state. I walked the halls a little bit earlier, looking at some of the research programs that will be discussed later today, and it's just incredible, and I'm honored to be here with you. Also honored to be serving as interim chancellor. So at UT Chattanooga, I think our focus primarily is on solving practical problems. We don't do a lot of basic research, although we do some basic research in the quantum area that I might get an opportunity to talk about here in a few minutes. But basically, we're looking at what are the problems our communities are facing in the Chattanooga and the regional area, and then how can we deploy our faculty and, importantly, our students to address those problems. So not only are our faculty working on the research areas and looking at community issues, we also think it's critically important for our students to be involved. We know from President Boyd mentioning about our retention rates, we know that if we can get students involved in research experiences with our faculty on our campuses, we're more likely to retain them. And we've got an example with our Crime Prevention Center, where students this past year, 30 students co-authored more than 30 technical papers or research papers related to that institute. So for us, it's focused on the community, it's building relationships in the community and our partners, and trying to help them solve the problems for a better Chattanooga and a better Tennessee.
UT Southern is the smallest and newest of the campuses, and because we're small, oftentimes we don't have the opportunity to lead research ourselves, so we depend on the connections across UT for other campuses and the connections with community partners. And that's really important because it allows us to do good work, and if we help our communities be stronger, community of Pulaski, then the institution is stronger. Our three main pillars at UT Southern are people, purpose, and partnerships. People in growing the enrollment, we heard about that. Purpose, creating intentional experiences for our students, and partnership with our communities, with business, with industry, and integrate students into everything we do. The purpose part of that, we know students are more successful if they have those kinds of experiences, but we also know that they bring a lot to the community and that they enrich the faculty's work in the research area as well.
Thank you. It's great to be here this afternoon, and I am representing UT Martin. I am so proud of the Skyhawks and the work that happens on our campus, and in particular our faculty, and what they do with our students. I am going to sound like a broken record in some ways, because we are just like the Chattanooga, Knoxville, and Southern campus. We focus on community-based research that matters. I am really excited because the research that we do partners with agencies, it partners with business and industry, it partners with secondary industry partners who are in our area and in our district. Our playground is not just Martin, Tennessee, or Weakley County, or Northwest Tennessee. It is all of West Tennessee, and arguably the entire country. I am excited to talk about some of the research things that are happening as we continue to go down the line, but it is about how we engage, how we push, how we involve folks in our community so that we can become better.
Fantastic. Good afternoon, everybody. Peter Buckley is my name, and I'm just delighted to be here with all of you. The health sciences, it won't surprise you that our focus is on health sciences. And our starting point
How enlightening.
is... Sorry, ma'am?
That was enlightening, actually, really.
Enlightening. Our starting point, as well as our North Star, is our vision. And our vision statement is healthy Tennesseans and thriving communities. Why is that relevant? We rank 44th in the nation in health indices. And that's driven by high rates of cancer, high rates of cardiovascular disease, infant mortality rate at 6.6 per 100,000. And then we have some of the issues that you're tackling today and tomorrow, like substance abuse, huge issue. In fact, misuse increases the work absence about 2.5 times, so a very significant issue. And then childhood issues. So we span the lifespan. We do so, and we do our best work, because these are huge issues. We do our best work when we work together across our campuses, whether it's in Memphis, whether it's in Nashville in association with Ascension Hospital, whether it is in Knoxville, or whether it is in Chattanooga. And you heard me mention one hospital, but we've about 14 hospital partnerships, and that's what drives our research, focused on healthy Tennesseans, thriving communities, and doing that in a way that's concerted. And we'll get into the details of that shortly.
Herb, go ahead and tell us about the engagement that the Institute for Public Service provides.
All right, at the Institute for Public Service, we do a little research, but where we're really involved is that we take the research that's done on our campuses, the evidence-based programming that is done there and developed there. I like to say we put working clothes on it instead of a lab coat and put it to work solving problems for people all over across Tennessee, especially as we serve business and government to improve the lives of Tennesseans. So from Memphis to Mountain City, we're involved every day in taking that information and putting it to work to help people in our state.
Great. Folks, let me give you a little piece of advice. If you've got a supervisor and they send you a note about the dress code for a panel, really read those memos. Really read. And Randy, your tie looks great, Randy. It does. It looks really good.
He didn't wear a skirt.
I did not, yes. It did say pants were preferred, so I did oblige by that. But at the Institute for Agriculture, just very quickly, agriculture is Tennessee's largest industry. Largest industry in the state, $90 billion annual economic impact on the state. And at the Institute, we think about providing real-life solutions. And all of our research comes from our farmers, it comes from consumers, it comes from commodity groups and producers. So the things that we're doing every day within the Institute are so that we can have safe food to eat, we can have plenty of food at our markets and our grocery stores, and that farming can be profitable for our farmers. So research, Mr. President, is very much applied, but it really doubles down on what do Tennesseans need, and as the land grant, I think that's what we need to do first.
Thank you all. So one of my jobs as the president is to sell the University of Tennessee and sell our needs, and one of the things I need to be able to do a better job of is selling research. And just for the record, I'd just like to say that I think I'm a fairly good salesman. You know, it's just, and the reason why I say that, for 30 years, for a living, I sold an invisible fence. Think about it. So if you sell an invisible fence, you should be able to sell the University of Tennessee. But I have a problem with research because too often I'm talking about programs that are very complicated, and we need to not talk about the technology and the research that we're doing, but the impact that we're doing. So what I've asked today the chancellors to share with us, there are some stories about the research and how it's impacted the lives of Tennesseans or people around the world. I'm going to give Dondi 2 opportunities, because UT Knoxville is our largest research institution. I'm going to ask her first to talk about the social sciences. Too often when we think about research, we're thinking about the things that we do at Oak Ridge National Labs, which is very important. But also the social sciences I'd like for her to talk on. And then once we finish up, we'll come back to her again to talk about some of the hard sciences and maybe some of the things that the UT Oak Ridge Innovation Institute is working on. So Dondi, kick us off.
Hey, thank you. I want to talk about 2 examples. There's so many I could talk about, but fortunately we don't have enough time. One is our reading center on our campus, which is housed in our College of Education, Health, and Human Sciences, but it is, yeah? Hi, Ellen, I just now saw you. But it is a system-wide effort. There are people from all across the system participating in this. There are still so many things we don't know about how to help children read. And one that just still, I'm shocked, Ellen, that we still don't know the impact fully of the summer vacation on kids reading. Raising my children, I'm trying to get them to read, but, I know, they go back to school in the fall, they kind of slip. So learning more about what happens with summer vacation, which we don't have that many 12-month schools. So what is the impact on that? And how do we, get ourselves injected into the system to sort of improve that? Lots of different things about reading that we still need to know about and learn about. If your child gets to middle school and is behind in reading, that's tough to catch up on. That center is doing research on what kind of interventions are the most successful and what don't work. So that's one, reading, which is something all of us can relate to. We've had children, we have grandchildren, and we want them to be on track or ahead of on track. Another one that I want to talk about is named the Boyd Center for Business and Economic Research. That is Randy Boyd, his family underwrites that center. It's a phenomenal center that largely is known for doing the forecasting that the governor, the state government depends on. But there's a couple things you might not know about them. And I'll just give you one that I think is the most interesting. They have all sorts of economists, statisticians who do research and can take data and understand what it's telling you and then tell a great story. Here's one of the things they do that you probably don't know about. They look around the state and they find the areas where we have the most significant drug abuse problems and identify what would be the best location for treatment centers. Now, that's not something that you would think of as, if I see a treatment center, I don't think, oh, I wonder what kind of research went into it being here. But that's really important, to be in the place where it's going to experience the biggest impact. So those are two, Randy, that I really like to talk about.
Oh, great. And by the way, this is as surprising to me as it is to you because they hadn't told me what they were going to share. And by the way, our researchers for the Reading Center and Matt Harris in the back for the Boyd Center are here today. So glad you picked people that were in the room. That was great. Robert.
Yeah, so thank you. So I've been amazed in my short time as interim chancellor. The great thing is learning more broadly about the research that's occurring across our campus. And my former role as dean, a little bit siloed, focusing on the business school, but it's just incredible what our faculty are doing. One of the things that I learned here recently and had an opportunity to talk with the investigator for this is in our criminal justice department. And we have a Center for Crime, Reduction in Violent Crime with Guns. And Dr. Dierendorf has worked with the Chattanooga City Police Department to put together a program that utilizes sophisticated technology, it utilizes community engagement to reduce gun crime in the Chattanooga city. And the proof is in the pudding, so they say. So let me just read a couple of statistics to you, and I'm going to read to you. Since this program has been in place, 27% decrease in firearms homicides in Hamilton County, 36% decrease in overall homicides in Hamilton County, 42% decrease in shooting victims, 36% decrease in gang-involved gun violent crimes. Most recently, the ATF just awarded this center the Excellence in Crime Gun Intelligence Award. And this center is starting to get a lot of recognition well beyond Chattanooga and becoming a national model. We've had so many people reach out to us about how this program works and the impact of this program. But just an example of how we're improving the lives of Chattanoogans every day with research out of this center. Something else some of you may have heard a little bit about is UTC's investment in quantum technology. That's a partnership with our Electric Power Board, who deployed the first quantum network in the country in Chattanooga. And we were fortunate enough to work with them to have a node on that network, which now allows us to have our faculty work with quantum sensing technology to test their research, but as well bring international scholars from around the country and literally from around the world to Chattanooga to work on that network to generate what's going to be the next evolution in computing. When I talk about quantum, that's about my extent of my knowledge of it, so, it's going to be extremely impactful. I'd also like to mention, and I had the opportunity to meet a couple of the researchers last night with our rail system, and I'll see if I can get rail right, Rural Assessment Intervention Library. And these are two faculty out of our College of Health Education and Human Performance that saw a need in the rural communities of Tennessee to provide support for students that were needed psychological assistance, right? They were in distress. And the psychologists in our rural school systems don't have access to these tools in order to provide help and support to students that need that support. And so they created this library at UTC and work with the psychiatrists and psychologists in the local school district to help make lives better for our young people in rural Tennessee. So that's just a few examples. I could go on, but doing good work.
As I mentioned at UT Southern, we depend on partnerships, and I just want to highlight a couple. First is the area of nursing and the research that's going on in nursing. We couldn't do it without the partnerships across the system. Every campus has a nursing program, and the fact that they work together to address the challenges that face nursing are really important. And we're in a very rural area, and we know that rural Tennessee needs nurses. The state of Tennessee needs nurses, and working together to figure out how to meet that need and doing important research in a partnership way is very important to us as a campus. Also, doing work with the Institute of Agriculture. We planted a red hickory orchard where our students do research. There's a parallel orchard at Jack Daniel's Distillery, and they're studying different kinds of trees and wood to be used in kegs and barrels. But it's a partnership, and our students are really engaged in that. Our faculty are engaged, but we couldn't do it without the Institute of Agriculture. The other piece is in special education. We're, again, rural, and special education is a real need. We have a need for all kinds of disability services. And what started as a research project in a class with Dr. Claire Paul, and she's here today, has evolved into something that we've taken on as an initiative at campus-wide to let folks know what resources are available and continue to research how do we bring those resources to communities that may not have those available. And so last week, we just announced collaboration grants on our campus just to mirror some of what was happening across the system. And I was blown away by the number of proposals that were put forward, but every single one of them partnered with community, partnered with other campuses, and partnered with programs across our campus. And I think that is really important in terms of the impact that research has on the UT Southern campus.
Thank you. I have a couple of examples as well. One that will deal with agriculture, probably not a big surprise for you. If I told you guys that Martin was in a large city, how many would believe me?
Large compared to Pulaski.
That's, okay, large, that's fair enough.
It's all relative.
Yes, large is relative, thank you, absolutely. One of the examples deals with within our agriculture college. Right now they are doing some research about corn production. I know that the UTIA campus does a lot around precision ag, and our campus is dabbing in that area as well. The corn production research that's happening on our campus really does try to help farmers to produce at a higher rate. And so it is, they use autonomous systems, and they have these drones that fly around ag fields, and they try to identify different types of weeds that are there. Who would have known, who would have thought that weeds have different productions? And so you have different types of weeds that are there that require different types of insecticides. It allows our farmers to be able to get into those fields, cover lots and lots of ground in very short periods of time, and apply insecticide where it is needed. It also means better efficiency in terms of production. It means better effectiveness in terms of production. It lowers the amount of insecticide that farmers must use. And so for us, it is a product of helping our community by doing this precision AI research for our campus. The other one that I want to mention is one that I'm really excited about. The 4 tenets for UTN is around people, partnership, people partnerships, achievement for the campus. One of the partnerships that we have is with Ford Blue Oval. We continue to try to be a preferred partner with Ford Blue Oval, and so when they wanted to talk about how to invest in the Stanton, Tennessee area, They came to UTM and they said, hey, we would like for you to help us with producing some research, conducting some research to find out how the people of Stanton want us to invest in their area. So it is a social equity project. Our students, our faculty went door to door, knocking and talking to folks in the Stanton area to help Ford Blue Oval figure out how they would invest in that community. The results have been incredible, and we are excited to be a partner with Ford Blue Oval and also to have a chance to talk about investment in the community as that community grows and Ford becomes a big part of our community overall.
Terrific. Randy began by telling you some statistics with regard to funding. So I want to give you a little bit of sense for the health sciences. So essentially last year we almost made $100 million, or $96 million in funding. Overall, 75 million of that was through research in the College of Medicine. About just over $9 million was in the College of Pharmacy, and just over $6 million was in the College of Nursing. Then when you look at disease-specific focus in terms of funding areas, the primary area across all of that is in cancer. So I want to spend a little bit a minute talking about our cancer program. You heard me at the onset say that our work is truly in concert and in partnership with the 14 hospitals that we have relationships with. So to give you just an example, we have colon cancer and hepatic cancer surgical researchers all the way over in Memphis doing great work. We have clinical trials work in association with Ascension here in Nashville, also in Chattanooga, and then also in Knoxville. And we were very excited late last year because when you have high quality research in an area, you attract new talent to the state. And so we're able to attract a new cancer center leader to our Knoxville campus. But that's great only if we can put everybody together. And so last week, we had this new cancer leader in Knoxville meeting with our cancer leaders in Memphis and all across our campus to discuss about a unified program towards cancer treatment. You know that makes sense because cancer is such a big issue, it's unlikely to be effectively tackled in any one area. So it's a perfect example of a grand challenge where you harness all the efforts together. I'm particularly proud of our nursing leadership. We've been able to already attract funding for cancer treatment and cancer development out of West Cancer Center Foundation in Memphis. And we believe if we work together and pull together a broad picture focused on cancer, again towards our vision of healthy Tennesseans and thriving communities, we can be highly innovative. I want to take this one step further and tell you about where we really rev it up and when we work with our other campuses. And of course, Dondi knows this because we've partnered with University of Tennessee in Knoxville, and we've partnered with Oak Ridge National Laboratory to draw down on more funding that Randy secured a number of years ago to create the Oak Ridge Research Institute. And we were fortunate to be one of few to receive $20 million on a fantastic project. This is a project looking at ovarian cancer. There's a higher rate of ovarian cancer in Tennessee. It's particularly hard to treat, and one of the reasons it's hard to treat is that it spreads undetected until it's too late. And so the majority of females develop and come to treatment at stage 3 or stage 4 ovarian cancer. So you can imagine if you could pick it up earlier, that would make a big difference. So we've been collaborating on that. We're developing at Oak Ridge, drawing down on the extraordinary talent there, an isotope, so that a radioisotope that essentially can tag the body and then tell you where it can pick up, it can light up cancer at a molecular level. So we're working on that. When we get that refined, we're going to test it in a mouse model of ovarian cancer developed by a gifted Hungarian cancer researcher in our institution, working with your chemist. And then, if that works, we'll then do first-in-human studies, and we'll do that across our campuses. So that's a perfect example, and I'm going to stop now.
Are they applauding your comments or stopping?
Just realize the downside of not telling each other what story you're going to tell, that we might accidentally steal somebody else's story. But Donnie's going to come up with something else.
All right. One of the programs that we're really proud of that comes out of a strong research base is our SMART initiative. And I noticed that most of our team for SMART is seated here. Dr. Jennifer Tourville heads that group up. Y'all wave over there, if you will. Opioid issues have been a problem for some time, and you might have heard that over the last year, we've had a 20% reduction in addiction deaths, which is outstanding information. However, the flip side of that is, even at that 20% reduction, we're double the level of opioid deaths that we had when opioid issues were identified as a national emergency in 2017. So there's a lot of work to do there. SMART has been involved very heavily across our state, working with county mayors over the last year, and I've seen several of those county mayors in the audience. We're glad those partners are here with us, but they're helping them be sure that they spend their funding legally and spend the money that they have from the abatement settlement funds in a way that really makes a difference. So we're proud of that. They also are in a unique place to create partnerships all over the state because we are statewide, and we're working with all kinds of organizations to make an impact across the state. For instance, the arm of Gibson Guitars that raises funding, Gibson Gives, and other organizations have partnered with SMART to put Narcan packages in all the different music venues that we have across the state to ensure that we reduce deaths at those places. One thing we know is you got to save a life before you can address addiction. And so they're very much involved literally in saving lives across the state. So we're proud of the work that they're doing. They're making an impact statewide. And it's because of this system relationship that we have that we're able to do things like that.
We're going to play a quick game, and that's called Complete This Slogan. Eat more chicken. Do you folks, have you heard of Chick-fil-A? So let me talk about chicken for just 30 seconds. Chicken is a $10 billion industry in Tennessee. And that's bigger than Arkansas, where Tyson Chicken's located. It's bigger than Mississippi. And so it's a huge economic driver for our state, and we all want good, safe, plentiful chicken. My doctor said, when I told him I was eating more chicken, he said, I don't mean fried chicken, Keith, but in just a few miles down the road here in Spring Hill, Tennessee, we're building a public-private partnership with Tyson, and we're building 5 commercial broilers where we're going to be able to maximize the brain trust of our faculty to take research back to the poultry industry on how to best raise chicken. There's food science there, there's food safety. We're working with faculty from UT Knoxville. There's going to be space for other people across the campuses to be able to come and do research. TSU, Tennessee State, is there with us. And folks, it's going to be cutting edge, opening next year. And again, it goes right back to helping our farmers be more profitable. Just second, in closing, the President talked about a $45 million investment into extension and 4-H. Folks, within a hot cup of coffee's reach of everyone in this room is a 4-H center. We've got 151,000 students annually participating in 4-H from 4th grade to their senior year.
they're going to be able to go to these 4-H centers, and they're going to get STEM education in overnight camps, in one-day excursions, in week-long excursions, and they're going to get that fire lit in them for curiosity, intellectual curiosity, research, and it's no telling what that's going to inspire for Tennessee's youth that then can come to our colleges and universities. So we're real excited about the future, and I hope you are too. Eat more chicken. Goodness gracious. That was horrible.
Thank you all. As we said, we're going to have Dondi have one extra try, with all, and even though Peter stole her story, I'm sure she's got
I'm going to try to tell it better.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, I'm going to tell a story I want you to think about how we feel as a society about rankings, okay? Like, we all want to be in the top this or that. Like, trust me, I have to answer for it when we're not in the top 10 for football, men's basketball, baseball, which we are in right now. The women are number 2 recruiting class in the country. Our engineering department's number 2 and number 5 right now in the country. Supply chain management, number 3. Tennessee as a state is in the top 10 for the fastest growing economy. It's in the top 10 for in-state migration. Those are all awesome things. We're in the top 10 of states for likelihood of getting the most common forms of cancer. That means there's 40 other states where you're a lot less likely to get cancer. We're in the top 10 states where if you get cancer, you're more likely to die from it in Tennessee than the other 40 states. Those are 2 rankings that we don't want. And I just wanted to underscore what Peter was talking about. The brilliance of the UTORI, UT Oak Ridge Innovation Institute. You might think, how do you bring a national lab together with UT Knoxville, with UT Health Science Center, and fight cancer? Well, one way is our lab is one of the biggest producers of radioisotopes in the world. Am I right? You're chair of the board.
We are.
Yeah.
Not one of, but the biggest in the United States, and only one of 2 in the world. The other one, by the way, is in Russia, which is problematic. So it's important that we continue to lead the way.
And they're very rare, right? Hard to get. So radioisotopes are at the centerpiece of nuclear medicine, which is now the way we're going to try to fight cancer. How am I doing, Peter? I'm like not a medical person, but trying to dummy it down so I can understand it. So our lab is one of 2 highest producers of isotopes. We have the number 5 ranked nuclear engineering department in the country, and we have the Health Science Center that's fighting cancer, that has a priority for getting funding for fighting cancer, and together we're going to make a difference. The new way to try to treat cancer, I remember when I was growing up, my mother would say, you know, you often die from the chemotherapy rather than the cancer. I didn't really know what that meant, but it's because chemotherapy is just like a blunt instrument. This is so much more at the molecular level. You can not only treat it, but diagnose it, as you were talking about, and then treating it in a real customized, much more localized way. Is that accurate? Yes. Okay, I hope I described it in a way that means something to you. Our 3 awesome institutions, and I see Dave from Oak Ridge National Lab. I'm glad you're here today. We're thrilled about this. This is one of the research priorities of UTORI for the coming year. How's that, Randy?
That's perfect. Okay. And I think one of the things that was a unifying statement across here is the collaboration that we have across campuses and how important that is. Did you have a final comment,
That's
Peter?
exactly what I was going to say, Randy.
Okay.
This is important in its own right, but it's also important because it's a model that can be repeated time and time again to use all the assets in the organization.
Well, I did have 1 or 2 other questions, but I'm mindful of the time, so I think we're going to have to wrap the question part of this now. But hopefully you'll agree with me that we're blessed at the University of Tennessee to have some great leaders, and let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. So we're about to begin the Grand Challenges Summit, and maybe some of you might wonder, what is a Grand Challenge? It kind of started using that term about 6 years ago, and when I thought about it was those challenges, those problems that across the state that were statewide, that were multidisciplinary, that were going to take years, maybe decades to solve, things that were really, really intractable and difficult problems. And as I thought about some of them, I thought, who better to solve those problems than the University of Tennessee? We're across the state. We have experts across the state in almost every field. As you've seen, we have the financial resources, and we're going to be here. We've been here for 230 years. We'll probably be here for at least another 100 years or more. So who, if not us, should take on these problems? So it was fun to talk about that, but then John Lacey and our team said, okay, but what are they really, Randy? Pick one. So, well, I can make some up. And I had some in mind, but he said, let's ask the people across the state. So we did lots of surveys, lots of listening sessions. There's a lot of big or grand challenges across our state, but we narrowed it down to three. The three that you are aware of, focusing on helping our rural communities, focusing on K through 12 education, and focusing on drug abuse and misuse. And we started, okay, now what we can do about it. And so the idea was to bring these grand challenge grants together. And as we've talked about multiple times, the power is when we work together. And what I love about each of the teams that are in this room, you all are working across departments, working across campuses, maybe even working outside the University of Tennessee with community partners or nonprofits or maybe Oak Ridge National Labs. So I'm really excited about what we're about to be presenting, or you're about to be presenting. You know, I knew about the projects. I've actually read through the descriptions of each of the projects, but it was really exciting walking in and realizing, oh, it's you. People that I see all the time thinking, wow, what a great assemblage of all the talent across the University of Tennessee system. So thank you for being part of UT. Thank you for being passionate. Thank you for applying for these grants, and I'm so excited to see the impact that you're going to make. You'll be the stories that we'll be telling on the stage for years to come. So thank you for being here, and looking forward to being with you over the rest of the day and tomorrow. Thank you so much.